Nobody can have a 5/5 in all categories 2 years in a row. Mark him as a 4/5. HR. These were the words my HR said to my manager when he put in my annual performance review for this past year. To explain a little background, I work in a niche part of research agriculture. I'm good at my job. I do it well. And everywhere I've went I've made myself extremely hard to replace. Basically, I'm good at what I do and it reflects. My manager is very open with me. He is the most transparent manager I've ever had. In fact, he shares with me certain details that I'm not supposed to know, such as salary raises, bonuses, stupid things that HR says to him in an email. After another great year of research and proving myself invaluable, which not only included 2 raises, 25% salary bump altogether, a hefty bonus, title promotion, enrolled in a mentoring program, listed as an extremely high performer by upper management, and being put in charge of advancing several field technology advancement projects, basically incorporating new cutting-edge tech in the field of research, all while attending college. Company was sending me back for free. I figured I had killed it for the year. Reports were done and filed. Everything from safety to EHS to the I's being dotted and T's crossed was done. I could not have finished the year any better. Now this was the end of my second year at this job. During my first year review I had been marked as a 5 all around by my manager. There's something like 4 categories you can score in, impressing not only him but several of the upper management seat holders as well as the company VP. That's what led to my promotion and raises. This last annual review my manager was having issues submitting my review. After some emails back and forth with HR, he explained to me that HR had just informed him that nobody can have a 5/5 in all categories 2 years in a row. Mark him as a 4/5. This was the general synopsis of the email. So I did what I do best when I get petty. I asked my manager to forward me the email, informed him I was okay with the 4/5 rating and that I don't expect him to try to fight HR on it. Then let the process stew for a few weeks. After the reviews were finished and sent back, they were accompanied with a VIP projections for the next year, salary increases and bonuses. And what do you know? My percentages were marked lower because I had gone from a 5/5 to a 4/5. Since the report made it seem that my performance had lacked this year from the last because of my score. Even though my actual performance never suffered, I was put in a lower category of a VIP, meaning less money for me, which wasn't gonna fly. I put together all of the report, the email from HR, as well as the input from both my manager and my peers that are included in my review, and emailed it to my VP, Director of Marketing, and Director of R&D. With my manager and HRCCEDI wrote, "This is fairly summarized. Due to the failure of the company to recognize my growth as an individual and mark me as slipping backwards on a progressional chart when it was obvious I had not, I will henceforth begin taking on only 80% or 4/5 of the current workload I have been assigned. I have been absolutely committed to the work and projects I have been assigned. In fact, getting my station ahead on audits, various projects, and coming under budget for the second year in a row seems to have been overlooked when due diligence was observed for my annual review. All due to the fact that an employee cannot be a 5/5 twice in a row. I believe it to be absurd that this is how my performance is graded when I have had no complaints or issues from my peers, customers, or managers throughout the year. In fact, being told the exact opposite. I will look forward to my performance review next year to see how HR determines my new score." I sent this on a Friday at 4 p.m. right before I left. I got an email Sunday evening from my VP with HRCCED stating that my review has been changed. Monday morning I had my new AVIP projections in my inbox. Sometimes you gotta go to bat for yourself. A former employer of mine set up their annual performance reviews with 5 levels. Except you were not allowed to give an employee the highest level. It was there only to try and motivate employees to do better and maybe get it next year. HR policies like that drive me nuts. And drive good employees out. This is great. I'm glad it worked out for you. I worked on place. Large company. For 15 years. For the first 8 years I received 5/5 in every category. Then in year 9, I was surprised to see 3/5 in some areas. 4s and 5s were automatically blanked out on the updated performance review. Apparently HR didn't want anyone getting 5/5 across the board anymore. Stated employees lose motivation if they don't see any need for improvement. I'm glad I left. I hate ridiculous rules like that, or no one can be 5/5. They don't walk on water. You did the right thing and got noticed. My wife got 5/5 2 years in a row. HR didn't tamper with her score. But she was informed that she couldn't raise more in rank or money. So she left. I got a 4/5 for attendance on a review once. I had perfect attendance during the period that the review covered. I didn't care enough about that job to protest or petition to have my score changed because I had already realized that the only way I could work for them long term was as a manager. I had also already realized that there was absolutely no scenario where I could see myself wanting to work for them as a manager. I worked there for maybe another year or so, and when my manager noticed that I had perfect attendance before but I no longer did, he asked why, so I brought up my review and the 4/5 he gave me for attendance. My first boss when I started said, "We'll go 3/5, but you're doing a good job and getting the full raise." And then 4/5 full raise. And 5/5 another full raise. Then HR asked him why I was getting so many raises and not to do it again XD. So next review again 5/5 and a raise. It was MC because the reviews initially were supposed to be every other month, but he did them every month. He's since retired, but a great boss I'll always remember. He was old school. Out on the floor working. Instead of just sitting in the office answering emails and chatting and gossiping. He got that stuff done and would work. Everyone else at his level never did any work. Just killed time in their offices. They called him the weird one because he was the only member of management that worked on top of his own work. Very nice. Just be careful. Now HR knows who the snitch is. Your manager. And will make their life miserable for giving you the ammunition to call them out on. Sounds like my country's civil service. After a promotion, you would get a default average performance grade the following year. Quite obviously, newly promoted people won't go all in. Good for you. I am jealous. I never worked for anyone who let me prove myself. Overall, the people I report to do not want their boss see someone outperform them. My last job had a similar grading scale for reviews. There were 6 categories in all. I rated a newish 1 to 3 years employee very well because that's what they deserved. I got an email back from my manager telling me to lower some scores because they were too high for someone that hasn't been there for a long time. I told that employee about all that and submitted a lower score with a comment on how they deserved to be higher. When they got that review, they were obviously less than thrilled and quit a short time after. My manager couldn't understand why they quit. I used to be responsible for ensuring that products appeared correctly and on time on online platforms, but was not responsible for the sales themselves. I didn't get a 5/5 because HR said, if you're not responsible for sales, you can't get a 5/5. And I was like, are you kidding me? Then I could never get 5/5 no matter how hard I try. My position allowed me big talk and the system was changed. But it was ridiculous from the start. I work in an office of about 300 or so staff. We have an annual review that has 2 results. 3 options for each section. Improvement needed, strong and outstanding. They have an allocation for how many outstandings they're allowed to give out. And on top of that, the outstanding result only grants a 0.5% salary increase. I worked my butt off the last couple of years and have been given 1 outstanding the last 2 years. My manager has only ever given out 2. Both to me. And even then she's had to fight senior management to get them to me. They wouldn't sign off giving me 2 outstandings. I work for one of, if not the largest, bank in the UK. Similar case regarding customer satisfaction in Finland. When a new car is sold, the buyer typically receives a survey to rate the purchase experience. When I bought a new car, the salesman told me that if I rate him anything but 5/5, he is going to have to explain why to his supervisor and the car manufacturer. Asked a friend of mine who sells the same brand of cars and he confirmed. This might work in Germany where the car I bought is from. But Finns typically don't rate their experience 5/5 unless it is something truly spectacular. 4/5 is an excellent rating. Goodwill had a policy of never giving an employee 5 out of 5 on an employee appraisal. I deserved a 5 and they gave me a 4 and they told me what I had to do in order to get up to a 5. It was ludicrous. I mopped a huge section or the warehouse every week. When no one else did. I cleaned the bathrooms, I helped train people. I did management's job for them. But when review time came, I had an internship with a small construction firm where I was assigned as an assistant to the project manager. As I was a college student working in the real world for the first time, I had no idea how employment laws worked. My boss deliberately reduced the number of hours on my pay stub if he wasn't satisfied with my work. He would say something along the lines of, you only get tasks X, Y, and Z done in 8 hours. But I think you should have been able to finish it in 6 inches and then mark that as 6 hours worked that day unless I could justify the extra time. Every week was like haggling for my paycheck and he wouldn't sign off until I agreed. In the end, he complained to the university that I didn't have enough experience. What the hell do you think the internship is for? And gave me an ultimatum because my prior engagement on my day off was inconvenient. I agreed to show up on site for a couple hours in the morning at a specific time to help move things along. But he didn't show up himself until an hour and a half later, at which point I only had less than 30 min and he acted like I was sacrificing a great opportunity to continue having 2 jobs on top of a full class schedule. Oh man, I've been gearing up for a fight with my bosses for months now. 2020 was chaos between the pandemic, a management change, and a reorg that fundamentally altered a lot of our jobs. Crummy raises. But with the promise they'd be fixed when the reorg was completed and new job titles and pay bands were finalized. Surprise. A year later and we're all still assigned the default entry-level title. Even those of us doing managerial work. The new titles haven't even been created yet. So they basically have 2 years of above and beyond to make up for. Sitting on top of an inflation baseline of around 5 to 6%. Should be a fun chat. During my PhD, I also supervised a group project each summer. We had 2 groups with 3 students in each group. Both groups were absolutely killing it that year, going above and beyond what was expected of them. Naturally, they all got an A from me. My professor didn't like it, saying that grades have to follow the normal distribution. I told him that trying to enforce a normal distribution on only 6 data points is not a rational thing to do. I didn't budge, and he was too much of a coward to overrule my grading. I still can't grasp how he ever became a professor. I once spent 10 months working on a large special project for the parent company of my subsidiary. At the same time, I was keeping things ticking over in my real job back in the subsidiary. CEO of the parent company gave fantastic feedback on my work directly to my CEO in front of the whole board. Was given a 3/5 that year by my manager because he would only reward me on how I performed in my actual job working for him, and didn't care what I was doing for the rest of the company. I wish now I had done the same as you. Did anything happen to HR? Hope they got a lower rating, lol. Managers do stupid shit just to manage, because they're afraid if they don't, people will realize they're not needed. HR is made up of wannabe managers that couldn't quite make it.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.